Hey, what's up guys? Lately I've got a lot of questions and messages about the topic college tennis. I personally played college tennis, so today I'd like to give you like a general overview of my experience playing college tennis at the university in San Diego State University, and then I will answer some of your specific questions about the topic. When I was 18, finishing high school, I had a decision to make. Am I going to go pro, playing the Futures Tour, or am I going to college and get a degree and then potentially turn pro after the 4 years of college? At first, I'm going to be honest, I was very skeptic. So this was about 2012, 2013. A lot of players have already went to college in that time. It was not very new, but compared to today, 10 years later, still relatively new. I had a few friends that played at smaller colleges whom I've played club matches with, and they all urged me to go for the college tennis route. I was still skeptic because those guys were not really tennis pros, so they were not doing what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, they went this route, but they didn't turn pro after, so I don't think it's the right thing for me. I was ranked about in the top 20 in the German boys under 18 at the time. And I was very far away from making an ATP point. But to be fair, I didn't have the knowledge about the game and about the structure and about the level that I have today. Oftentimes when you're a teenager, you cannot really, you don't really have the feeling how high the level actually is on the professional circuit. Like the Future Tour gets a really bad reputation most of the time, and the tournaments are really not that nice, at least some of them. But the level is very high. So even if you're a very accomplished junior, it's no guarantee that you're going to make it directly. My epiphany moment was when I lost 6-0, 6-0 in the Future before I even finished high school. And that's when I realized, okay, I should probably give it a big try and go to college, because I will go more into this topic. You don't have to commit for 4 years. It's still an option to just go for 1 year. When I got humbled by losing 6-0, 6-0 in the first round of a Future, still my biggest concern was, do I have enough time to eventually become a professional after? So I went into college, or I committed to the idea of going to college. I said, okay, if I don't like it, I can stop after 1 year and I can still turn pro, and I want to go somewhere where it allows me to still compete in futures throughout the fall semester where there's not the college tennis season going on. I finished high school and then I committed to the San Diego State University to start in August 2013. I was barely 18 when I went there. I'm gonna be honest, and this is what I feel like a lot of teenagers experience. I felt like I know a lot, but quite frankly, I didn't really know that much. So it was a beautiful experience, very humbling also. The mentality is totally different in college. You're treated not rough, I mean you're treated very privileged on the one side. Like if you're an athlete, you can move around your tests, etc. But it's very tough training, especially compared to what we have in Europe. The coaches have a lot of authority, which can sound frightening, but I had very nice coaches. They were hard on us, they pushed us, but it was exactly what I needed at the time to develop as a tennis player. I realized there was a lot more to do and improve for my tennis game before I can think about turning pro. I realized this when I was competing very hard against other college tennis players. Unfortunately, I never had the experience to maybe get a wild card into a main draw at a Future where I could have felt how high the level actually is. I'm saying this not to discourage you. There are definitely other juniors that were better and they were suited to go pro directly. Personally, I still had this illusion that I train very hard and I can make it very fast. And then luckily I went to college, because I probably would not play tennis anymore if I went straight on the pro circuit. And one thing when you're young is you have to get away from this thinking, oh, I don't have time, I have to accomplish it very fast. You have time, so you have to work every day, and you cannot be a professional athlete forever. It's not a career path like for example working at a bank that you can work until you're 60, 70 years old. You're pressed for time, But there is still more time than you think. If you look at the top players today in the world, the average age, I don't know the exact statistics, but I would say it's between 26 and 30. There is some time to become a very successful pro, but you always also have to realize that in tennis, it's a sport where you can earn good money, but there are not many spots where you can earn a lot of money. So it's very, very competitive. And I have to repeat this, oftentimes people think, oh, I'm a good junior, I'm good in my country. You have to compete against people from all around the world and all ages in order to make it in tennis. So being a big star in your local city or even your country, and maybe even in Europe, for example, is no guarantee for success on the pro tour. It's a lot more work. Don't believe the hype too much when you're a young teenager playing tennis. So coming back to my own personal college tennis story. So in August 2013, I started at the San Diego State University, and just 2 weeks after I started there, I attended a college football match. And this is a great example to explain to most of the European people what it actually means to do college sports in the US. So just a few days, a young student, he asked me about, what is college like? And I like to give this following example. So in college football, American football, not soccer, the teams are supported so heavily by a local fan base. It's really comparable to like the German classic in soccer, Bayern München versus Borussia Dortmund. Like the stadium is filled with 50, 60,000 people cheering for college athletes, not professional. The people identify so much with the colleges. It's crazy. It's really like a big soccer club in Europe. I went to this game and I was shocked. I mean, I saw videos before about it, but when you're part of it there, you really realize the magnitude of college sports in the US. Of course, tennis is not comparable to football, but still the whole spirit and the coaching, the athletic department, everybody thinks very big, and this can help you for your own career, even for your maybe professional career if you choose not to become a tennis player after, to think big. This is really the American spirit, and I profited a lot from those experiences. In tennis, you still compete against the other schools, maybe in a smaller setting, but it gets very competitive. I'm sure you heard maybe the stereotype, everything is loud and very pushy in college tennis, and it's true. Like, you really have to be a machine out there. You have to push, you have to scream, even if you don't feel like it. This is a great experience to become a bit more extroverted. You don't have to change yourself if you're more introverted, but it's good to leave the comfort zone sometimes, and it definitely helped me to grow as a tennis player. I started my career in 2013 as a freshman. So in college you go through 4 stages: freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And when you're senior, you finish, and then you can choose to work in another field or you can pursue your professional career. So this gives you 4 years. So you typically enter college at 18 or 19 and you come out 21, 22, 23. And then you still have a lot of time if you choose to become a professional tennis player, and you've developed yourself mentally as well as physically. And this is an important aspect in my opinion. When you're a very young person, 18, 19, 20, it's very tough to be like super professional. I admire now being on the pro tour and seeing guys like Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz. I really admire the maturity those guys display at a young age, but it's definitely not normal. Like when you're 18, 19, maybe you want to party a little bit, maybe you want to see your friends. These are all normal things. And when you're 18, 19, competing on the Futures Tour, like I said, you have to compete with adult men, and you're traveling 30, 35 weeks in a year. There's not really time to have this normal social development oftentimes. So this is also something you should keep in mind, that college is a great spot for, because it's a very unique place where you can combine tennis, school and social life. It's much tougher to do that in Europe when you study, for example, online or at the university, because you get a lot of freedom. And everything I just described to you is actually how my personal college career went. So I came in at 18 and I had still the dream of becoming a professional tennis player. But I'm gonna be honest, the first 2 years, I also started to experience other things. I went into the business program, and I gained a lot of interest in that topic, reading new books, something I really didn't do before. I met new friends, made different experiences, traveled around the US, California, and played a lot of tennis, did a lot of heavy lifting. You know, I like to do that, learned a lot about that. So I really gained experience in many different topics, and that helped me mature a lot. And I think a lot more than if I would have stayed at home in Stuttgart and just practiced to be a pro. Which doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing. It just, for me personally, I think it was the right decision to go to college. Over the years in college, I always stayed focused on tennis. This is the good thing. You can experience other things, but you're part of the team and you have the burden of performance. Like, the coach wants you to perform because his livelihood depends on the team performing well. So it's a business for them. So you have to be a successful business asset for the coach, which means pressure to perform, pressure to win. Otherwise, you're losing your scholarship, you're losing your spot on the team. And the colleges are very expensive, so for sure you don't want it. So on top of all the things, you also learn to deal with pressure and to perform under pressure. And for me, my first 2 years in college, I played decent and I kept improving. Like, physically, as a person, I improved, and then my tennis improved. And in my third year, I was able to compete in future tournaments close to San Diego in California. And I was able to gain my first singles ATP point at the age of 20 in 2015. And that's when I really realized, okay, like, I can become a pro. And I shifted in my mind the mindset that, okay, now I'm going to work every day until I graduate to become a professional tennis player. And I had a great setup to do so in San Diego. Like, the weather was good, great training partners. And eventually, 2 years later, in May of 2017, I finished my business degree, my bachelor's. I left the university, and that's when I started to become a pro. And you will learn a lot more about this process on this YouTube channel. Now I will go into a few questions that you guys sent to me about college tennis. So as I've said, you guys sent me a few questions. I'm going to answer 3 of them about the college tennis topic. In the future, if you like this kind of format, we will do more. So make sure you subscribe right now, and now we'll go into the questions. The first question: how does a training week in college tennis look like? When I came into college, I knew it's going to be like very tough training, but how it actually is, I couldn't really imagine. So I will speak from my experience and what happened to me. So the first 2 weeks are kind of like an orientation. You know, you meet other students, you have to do a lot of stuff for university, and there are certain rules and regulations. You cannot practice so much. But when you start the first proper practice week, about 3-4 weeks into the semester, here's what it could look like. Every college is different. That's what it was for me. So I received a text on Saturday that we start on Monday at 5 a.m. in the weight room. So at first I saw 5 and I was like, a.m., p.m., I wasn't really sure. Is it going to be in the evening? No, 5 in the morning. And we have to be there 10 minutes early. So Monday morning, the bell rings, 4 a.m., waking up, getting ready, going to the weight room. And we start at 5, easy warm up. And 10 minutes later, I was squatting heavy, pushing the prowler, pushing the sleds, being completely exhausted. I'm not gonna lie, I had to vomit a few times in that semester because the training was so tough. But later I realized this really helped me to develop as a player with my physical capacities, but most importantly mentally. So a typical week, to sum it up, you have about 2 or 3 lifts in the morning. It doesn't have to be 5 a.m., but it will be for sure around 6 or 7. Then 1 hour, you get a break, you go to school, you do your courses, and then typically you practice every day from around 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. with your team. And that's it. 6 days a week tennis training, 3 days a week in the morning fitness. And of course, during the tennis training, you don't just play tennis, you also have to do a lot of runs, suicide runs, drills like that. It's very tough, but especially at this young age, you adapt to it fast and it helps you improve a lot. And what's very important, in the colleges you have excellent physio services you can use every day to recover faster. Okay, the second question. Hi, which ranking do I need to go pro as a junior? So this question is interesting because it really depends. I have to say it again because young people are very impressionable. I don't want to discourage anybody from going pro directly. At the end of the day, it's a personal choice, and I for sure don't have all the answers. I'm not number one in the world singles, so I cannot give you all the answers, but hear me out on this one. I've played against many players in college that were ranked in the ITF junior ranking, playing junior Grand Slams 50, 60, 70, and after 1 or 2 years they were average college tennis players. Of course there's other stories of those guys advancing and going up in the rankings. What I'm trying to tell you is it's really tough to become a pro at a young age. It's really tough to play right through the future circuit at a young age. It takes time, it takes years, and it can be very frustrating. And oftentimes people will tell you, yeah, you have a high level, come to my academy, get my coaching, and 1 year later you will be at the top. But it's not true for most of us. There are exceptions. I mean, if you already play well on the future circuit, which means to make good results in the main draw at 17, 18, 19, I mean, look, it's probably still better to go directly pro if you have the head for it, if you have the mentality, if you have a healthy body, then sure, go for it. But it's really just a handful of people who can say that. For the other side, for the other people, I would say unless you have that type of level, that type of skill, even if you're a very good junior, give it a shot in college. It's gotten much more professional also compared to when I went about 10 years ago. And the coaches really encourage you to play futures as well and professional tournaments. So go to college, try it out, learn something, play tennis, and if you really dominate there in the futures and on the college circuit, sure, go for it. You can always go pro. Like, no one forces you to stay at the colleges. So that's my personal take on it. Quick side note, guys, if you're really interested in the topic of should I turn pro as a junior or should I go to college, comment down below and I might make a separate video about the topic. The third and final question: when should I start the recruiting process to go into college? The earlier, the better. So typically you should start it about 1.5 years before you finish your high school degree. This is different in every country. In Germany, it finishes always around June. So you should probably start the December the year before. So not 6 months, so 1.5 years, 18 months before. This will give you time to shoot a video, make potentially better results, get in touch with colleges, and this will really help you to find the best school. You could even take a visit to the colleges. That's something they offer very often. So the more time you give yourself, the better, and you can see if you can do it on your own. Oftentimes college coaches will contact you directly, and then you don't need an agent to help you. But if not, it's also a good thing to get to an agency. They can help you. They set you up in a portal where a lot of coaches look into. They can see your talent. That's also something you can consider if you have more time. The only exception, if you're very good, accomplished, like a top national junior, a top ITF junior player, most likely you can also decide it on short-term notice because the coaches are very interested in recruiting you, and they will make space on the team for you. Because for all the other people, there is also a limited amount of spaces that get free every year. Like I said, there's freshmen, sophomore, junior and seniors, and you don't know how many seniors are leaving each year, and there's only limited capacity for scholarships. So keep that in mind. The earlier, the better in general. So that's a wrap for the college tennis video today and for answering your questions. I want to give a big shout out to San Diego State University. Go Aztecs. I really enjoyed my time there and enjoyed my time on the team, the coaching. It really helped me a lot to be the tennis player I am today. So big shout out from me. For myself, college tennis was the right choice. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. I think this video will help you. As always, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and if there are any questions, also hit me up on Instagram. See you next time.